Alright, stem drums. I might as well go, I think this is...
And if you really wanna look down, come baby if you ready now, I'll be right.
So I'm basically limiting this just to control it. Maybe because it was sticking out a bit too much. That's... So this effect here is more like how it kind of works with the other sounds, rather than it being its own. So percussion. In fact, let's go into the kick snare sum now. So let's A-B it. Off. Oh my goodness. Alright, let's turn it on. See, the kick and snare, what this chain does, it makes the kick and snare sound like more together, like sounds like they belong together. I feel like the kick is really weak, but then when I add these plugins here, they like narrow out and sound like they're supposed to be together. Sound like they're supposed to be played together. Alright, so first plugin. This is the Waves SSL bus compressor. So what's really making it work together, so this is a glue compressor. So it's something you tend to have on a group track, which makes things sound together. Basically what I said earlier. So here it's just getting the transient. The attack is set to taste, ratio is to taste. With analog plugins especially, it's really just to taste, because it really adds its own character to the mix. So yeah, but the main thing here is that I set the threshold just to get the transients. That's the part I really didn't set to taste. I knew what I wanted before I added this in. Just A-B, just this. See, so when I A-B it, they sound a bit closer together, like they sound like they're starting to work together, these two sounds. So then I add this. This is Max Bass. This is like another algorithmic bass plugin, so I set it to 93 Hertz. Again, the reason why I set it to 93 Hertz is because this is 92.5 and I just rounded it up to 93. And then use that as a starting point. And ended up leaving it there. And then Max Bass, this is I'm going to do a tutorial on this, even just so people can find it on YouTube, but the Max Bass part is the bass coming from the plugin. So this is the bass it generates from the input of the plugin. And you can see the level compared to the original sound. So this is normally used on basses, but I use this on a kick and snare because I thought it sounded good. So let's A-B this. So again, I think this really adds power to the kick. And by adding power to the kick, the kick and snare again sound more together, because that is the point of this chain, this kick snare sum. And there's no processing, just the side chaining, like I said earlier, on the not kick snare. So that's everything else in the song but the kick and snare. And then both these channels go to master, there's nothing else after that. Oh, but one thing I forgot to mention about the snare, actually, is I've got this snare compression plugin. This is parallel compression. I'm going to do a tutorial on this. But this is a very subtle effect. I'm just gonna solo. So here you can see I've sent it to 5. So that's here. That's this here. In fact, wait, I'll just mute the snare compression. Because parallel compression is like more of, these set of plugins is parallel compressions, but I'll be going through that in a later tutorial. So yeah, I just A/B'd it there, and it sounds a bit dull. So parallel compression, if it sounds quite dull and you're losing the tail, then parallel compression can really add more tail, so it sounds a bit more alive. Rather than adding a bit of reverb on the end, because the bit of reverb on the end can be a bit can be a bit I don't know, it can sound a bit rubbish, like not like, I mean, it works, but it may not be as powerful enough as you want it. Even though it's just a tail, it'll kind of lose the impact it has. So parallel compression is like an alternative to increasing the tail. So basically parallel compression is you compress the hell out of it. I use this compressor to do that. So you compress loads. So that's minus 10 dB gain reduction. Like I said, I'll be going through this plugin. This is actually a really good plugin for parallel compression. I tried it a lot, but I'll be going through this plugin in a later tutorial, because plugins like this are set to taste. So you've got time constant. So this is based off like I said, an analog plugin. So these different settings have very different characteristics. And I actually had to go in the manual to set this plugin up. So I actually read the manual to know more about this and more about this, because this isn't your normal threshold dial that we're all used to from working in the digital realm. But one important feature is that I've linked them together, so this one at the bottom is pointless, because you can actually set them so it's left, right, so left, right, or left, right, or left here, right. And then this, I'm not sure what this is, but I'll be going through this in a later tutorial. And the link is in the description on that as well. I put loads of saturation, so I literally just ruined the sound. And then turn up the high end a bit. But the main thing I've done here, and the reason why I just wanted to mute it here and not and treat the chain as a whole, is because it's kind of like about destroying the sound. As crazy as that seems, but I basically destroy the sound, and then I bring it like very quietly back in, and that acts as like the lower dynamics of the snare. So, so the lower dynamics of the snare, what am I on about? I'm on about the tail. So the tail, it tends to be, when you talk about the tail, you think of reverb, so, or the release. But this whole parallel compression chain is the tail. Like this is the tail, and I'm adding a bit more tail into it, and that's what you should be looking out for, like the lower dynamics of the snare. So let's A/B it again, just so you know what you're listening to. So yeah, it sounds a bit dull when I turn it off. So yeah, that's why that's there. And this also works on group channels. Like it works on anything. If it sounds a bit dull, then yeah, parallel compression. And then here I've got like a bit of drum reverb on the kick snare sum. So let's just put the kick snare together. See, I'm just going through the return channels. Oh wait, no, I've actually turned this off. Ignore me. So yeah, I guess I tried this and then it didn't work. So I just turned it off. Muted it. Okay.
There's someone under our boat, I think.
Those guys all have
Tell me
flint
when.
box.
Alright, up, I'm up, I'm up,
check.
up.
I'm up.
I don't see anybody.
Hey,
Where are the
is
sleuths?
team with us?
I killed him. No, we don't.
The other one's in the water.
We don't want a team. They said that they asked us if we want a team. But
Can you
I
come
killed
from
him
the
while he
wall?
said it.
Sure, nobody.